Good morning, everyone. The business is really was originally conceived by a couple of serial millennial entrepreneurs who were struggling to make ends meet. They were on business number 3, 4, and 5, and they kept coming to the same basic conclusion. Number one, I'm spending 80% of my time not focusing on my core business. And whether it's finding my office, whether it's back office accounting, all the headaches. And they had a concept. It happened to be that our two co-founders, one grew up in a kibbutz in Israel, and one grew up in a commune outside of Eugene, Oregon. So for them, the concept of being part of a community and sharing wasn't a buzzword at the moment. This is 2008. This is in the heart of the downturn. And what you really saw was a company that the initial seeds was always about community, collaboration, and bringing people together. And in its infancy, the business really was built for taking space, 1 to 10 person companies, and really creating and fostering that environment. As the business has thrived and as we've been able to grow and quickly, some of the largest landlords in the world took notice and they started to bring us into their buildings, and very quickly institutional money followed, and before long we were able to grow and scale quite quickly and take bigger and bigger spaces. And as we took bigger and bigger spaces, we started to create bigger and bigger offices. A lot of it in the early days were for our own core members, our community, who were growing, and we didn't want them to leave just because they were raising money and doing well and growing. As that happened, a funny thing happened, and really what I would say we stumbled upon, which is enterprise, big companies, GEs, Ford, Microsoft, Salesforce, companies of those size started to come to us. And in each case, it was for probably a different reason. Some because they wanted access to this millennial generation, and their sales and marketing team said, I want to sit here and be surrounded by this. I want to be part of it. In certain cases, it was just the pure flexibility of, I don't ever want to sign a 10-year lease again. I want to come into WeWork and I want to be able to manage my duration in a much more agile way. Some of it was just the affordability. You know, most of real estate over time was built, 2008 and before, 250 square feet per person, per employee. WeWork is about 50 square feet per person. And what that really means is an interesting thing. When you build, and I would say part of that was the I would say the old dream, which was I might start in a cubicle. Maybe if I'm successful, I go to a bigger cubicle. If things go really well, I'll get an office, and over time, maybe I get that big corner office. I would say that dream is no longer here, and now it's about it really being a part of something with meaning, having intention, and ultimately, you know, having a very vibrant atmosphere and energy. So what I'm going to do quickly, for those of you who haven't been to a WeWork space, is just show a quick video. It'll be about a minute and a half just to give you a visual, and then we'll take it from there.
Our goal is to help people not only be productive as they work, but also have fuller lives, and to define success in much broader terms than just financial. When a company decides that they believe that their employees are really valuable, that they want to help them be successful in their lives, becoming a part of WeWork is one step towards achieving that. People really believe that their work and their life are intertwined, and so therefore their work has to be awesome. The environment that they work in has to be awesome, the people that they work with have to be awesome, and overall the company has to deliver on so much more than they would have in the past. WeWork is trying to make it easy for companies to provide that. We're allowing a company of any size to create a culture for their company that really is new, progressive, it's continuously responsive to what people are interested in. The programming changes, the space is malleable, there are many ways to make adjustments to the space when necessary. We're an empowerment mechanism. We want nothing more than for you to be successful. We're going to create spaces that work for you. We're going to be in great buildings in great locations. And no matter whether you need one desk in London or you need 1,000 desks in Europe, we're going to be there to solve that need for you. When you walk into WeWork, you're going to feel at home. We hopefully create a place that's safe, that's comfortable, that's inspiring, that makes you happy, that makes you feel prepared and engaged with the world and ready to take on any challenge that's in front of you.
Great. So that gives you a sense, for those of you who haven't been in a WeWork, of the feel and the look. I mentioned in our brief little intro, but today WeWork has overall about 75 locations, 30 cities, 12 different countries, over 60,000 members, and we are now have a global footprint. We'll be opening next month in Shanghai, in the back half of the year in Seoul, in Sydney, in Melbourne, in Hong Kong. Here we're obviously just opened in Berlin. We announced we'll be opening in Paris in the first half of next year. We're in Amsterdam, we're in London, we're in Israel. We obviously are based in New York and have a big footprint in the US, and are going to be entering Mexico City as well soon. So you have a global network and a global community. And I think what's important to note is the way that our business has been built. It's a 6-year-old business, and everything we do is sort of enabled and powered by our technology. And number one, from the moment we source our locations, how we fit them out, you saw in that video a little design that showed sort of a 3D imaging. Everything we do is technology that either we're built or systems that we're creating to not just design, operate, and run, but also how we manage the assets, and most importantly, how our members and our businesses communicate with each other. So today, over half of the companies that sit within WeWork do business with each other. So very much it is, to Marco's question, a play on the sharing of both space, but it's also sharing of services and sharing of ideas. So, and as we aggregate more and more of this demand and more members and more companies, we're able to take that aggregation of demand and offer really compelling service opportunities like healthcare, back office accounting, stuff that WeWork might not be doing directly, but that we can buy effectively in bulk and offer to our members at very attractive prices. It's also important to note, if you're a member of WeWork in any single one location, you have access to WeWork all over the world. So if you're here in Berlin and you're in London for the day, or you're in New York, or wherever you might be, you become automatically a member. You can book space. You could do everything through your app. We have 3 different forms of membership. At the base level, there's a virtual member. For those who don't need a dedicated office, they could pay, they can have access to the network, access to all the services, and then they can book space as they come and go. And then the more traditional membership, which is private offices as well. I touched on this, but really the big drivers of our business from a demand perspective is this concept that work is shifting, it's evolving. The needs are different. A lot of this is being driven by the millennials. Millennials will be over half of the workforce over the next several years. And millennials are definitely looking for, number one, more vibrant environments. And I think one of the things that we're seeing more and more, this independent workforce, which in the US alone is about a third of the workforce. That independent workforce, real estate as a whole wasn't really set up for it. So we're catering to, on one side, the smaller, more independent workforce, and then at the other side, enterprise. And as I said earlier, this is a huge growth area for us. It's probably only in the last 90 days have we started to actively talk about it or even reach out. It's up until then it was really inbound and reactive. But what you're seeing here are big companies with huge real estate footprints who are saying, footprint's too big, too much space per employee, and not just from a flexibility, how can I manage my duration better, but what you're really hearing from a lot of these companies is we want to enhance our culture. we're in a war for talent. And if we're going to retain and recruit the best talent in the world, we need amazing atmospheres. We need great offices. It's a huge part of what makes companies great. And a lot of these companies have come to us, and we're now customizing spaces for companies of all sizes, whether it's a full floor in a building, or in several cases, we have companies today coming to us that have 11 years left on a lease and saying, will we take over the lease, and can they move their headquarters into WeWork? All of these are key drivers for the business, and something that we think over the next 2 to 3 years will be a big driver to the future growth. So in a high level, that's WeWork. I think getting back to some of the questions around Berlin itself, we opened our first location at the Sony Center just this past month. I would invite each and every one of you to come down and see it and walk through it. It's a beautiful building, and I think it's representative of what we do. Even within in a city, when we come into a city, we'll target at a minimum to have 5 to 10 locations. So already we have our second, third locations that are signed, that are under construction, that'll be opening. And what you're really doing is giving a physical footprint in a city, and creating an amazing community and network for those that live in it. Thank you so much.